So you might just have more control over your body than you actually think. If you ever struggle with premature ejaculation to some degree or another, does it ever feel as if your body, your penis, is just doing its own thing? Well, to some extent that's because it's true, and it is. A lot of guys, when they talk about premature ejaculation or wanting to last longer in bed, they say that during the run-up to intercourse, so foreplay, getting undressed, talking, playing, a lot of touch, even receiving oral and getting stimulation, they can feel their arousal levels rise, but they feel like they still have some semblance of control over their bodies. They can relax, they can cool it down. But as soon as intercourse begins, so once that penis in vagina or penis in connection is made, it feels like automatic pilot kicks in and they just become observers of their own bodies, rushing to ejaculation. I've heard it described, people have said that they feel like they go into a trance-like state where control goes out the window. So is this just nature getting the procreation job done as quickly as possible? Or do some guys actually have more control over their bodies during sex than others? We've heard about porn actors and tantric masters and guys who have a genetic gift maybe, who say that they can come on demand. They have that level of control and they're much envied by a lot of the other rest of us that maybe struggle sometimes. So what is the deal with this? Well, let's quickly look at some bodily functions that some are reflexive and involuntary and just happen automatically, some that we have conscious control over, and then some that are a bit of both. And I'll explain how this relates to sex and lasting longer and what the actual nature of control is. So let's start with our eyes. I have conscious control over my eyes. I can close them, I can shut off visual stimulus, I can make myself blink. But also blinking happens automatically too. So my body's always monitoring the levels of hydration and tiredness around my eyes, and it'll make me blink automatically. And when I go to sleep, my eyes close too. So it's one of those dual control systems. Now, pupil dilation, the letting light into my eyes, well, that happens completely reflexively. I don't have any control over that. I can't say to my eyes, right, pupils dilate now. But I can hack this, I can influence it. So from moving from one room to another, from a dark place to a light place, or by taking drugs, if cannabis is known to create pupil dilation. So I can hack this, I can influence a reflexive response. Now, as an interesting aside, I can also influence this by looking at porn as well. Research has shown that when volunteers looked at porn, as they got more aroused, their eyes became more dilated. So here's an interesting example as how a shift in our attention can override parts of us that aren't directly under conscious control. Now let's look at blushing. This is something that happens instinctively. I cannot tell my face to flush with colour on demand. But of course, again, I can hack it. I could go out in public and deliberately make myself do something really embarrassing around other people. Or I could close my eyes and imagine something really embarrassing from my past, or something really sexual. So that's interesting because that shows us how a deliberate shift in our inner attention can again override an instinctive physical response. So what about erections and ejaculations? Let's get to the nitty-gritty. Can I tell myself to get an erection right now? No. Can I tell myself when I'm having sex to ejaculate right now on demand? No. Or more helpfully, when I'm having sex, can I say to myself, don't ejaculate right now, I need you to hang on for another 10 minutes and then you can come? No. So it seems that for the 99% of us that aren't porn actors or tantric gurus, erections and ejaculations fall into that category of out of our control. So thank you for watching, that's the end of the video. Now, of course, thankfully, that's not the end of the story here. Let's take the example of an automatic car. Now, a lot of people say, I could never drive an automatic car because it doesn't give me the level of control that I need. But if you've ever had an automatic car or driven one for a while, you know that actually you are in control. So for example, if you're getting to the top of a hill and you don't want it to change down into a lower gear, you can adjust the amount of acceleration that you give it. So you are in control, and the key is familiarity. The longer you have the car and you drive it, you learn its little ways and you learn the tricks, and it becomes instinctive in the way that you drive the car. And in many ways, the same applies for erection and ejaculation. If we try to force gears, if you try to manually control when we don't actually have that level of control, it just leads to frustration. We just need to realise that we actually have oblique, indirect control over our bodies. And if we are able to tune into our bodies and understand the way that our physicality works and what it wants to do, we can really do this. Now, our body's equivalent of idling and acceleration, if you like, is our autonomic nervous system. Now, this is split into two parts, the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. But both of these control our bodies, our internal organs, our functions subconsciously out of our awareness, hence the name autonomic nervous system. So the sympathetic nervous system, that's the accelerator. That's the part of us that's evolved to respond to threats, to respond to anxiety, and it gets us moving, whether that's running away from something or fighting. It's our protection response. And it plays a key role in sex too. As our arousal and our excitement levels build, it's the sympathetic nervous system that drives us to acceleration. Now, our parasympathetic nervous system is the opposite of that. In many ways, it dials down the gas to calm and slow us down. So when we're not under threat, it's our rest, digest state where we can reflect and soak up pleasure. Now, wouldn't it be useful to be able to engage this state during sex? Now, again, we don't have in our bodies a gas pedal or accelerator or a set of brakes that we can consciously control. So again, I cannot say to my body, okay, we're having sex, I know you're really aroused right now, but I just need you to hold on, okay? Just hold on, hold on. Again, when we try and do this, it ramps up anxiety, it ramps up a feeling of being out of control, and it gets to a point where we're actually more likely to come sooner or to go soft completely and just not be able to perform. Now, I do have a method of consciously controlling this, and it's the system that I show guys who are struggling a little bit. It's a set of key skills to learn, and it breaks down into 3 parts. So the first element that I show guys is relaxation. So we know that our body automatically has this mode where it lets go of tensions, calms and slows things down. And we can learn how to engage that mode, to influence it. And one of the key, proven, time-tested ways of doing this is through our breathing. Now, breathing is another one of those functions that is dual control. My body breathes automatically and I can consciously control it. I can slow it down, I can speed it up, I can breathe deeply, I can breathe more slowly. We know that athletes and performers and meditators consciously use breathing a lot in order to connect with themselves, to get into that flow state, to perform, to project the role that they want to be. The Wim Hof breathing technique is another famous example of how breathing control can directly influence the body state. Now, Wim Hof is using this to accelerate, to engage the sympathetic nervous system, to trigger the release of hormones, but it's the same form of control. Now, breathing isn't the only tool that we have to relax and calm down the ejaculation response. So, for example, we can learn how to relax and let go of tensions in the muscles around our lower body that directly relates to the ejaculation process. Now, the second thing I show guys is awareness, because it's difficult to change anything around our body if we're not aware, if we don't know how it feels to be in these different states. So we work on building awareness of how our body feels when it's aroused and excited, and when to be able to recognise the limits of our physical conscious control over ejaculation, and how to react without panicking, without stressing, without building up anxiety, how to react calmly and confidently. And awareness, of course, it also covers external awareness of the sex that we're having, the connection to our partners, the levels of pleasure, what she needs, what we desire. So it's a general awareness around sex as well, which a lot of guys lose sight of because they get so caught up thinking about their own performance. Now, finally, the other element that I talk about is movement, moving. And this is in many ways the holy grail of overcoming premature ejaculation, because we want to keep our bodies moving consistently and still not come too soon. Now, again, we can be relaxed, we can be aware, but if we don't actually know how to move optimally during sex, we build up muscle tensions anyway, and it's very difficult to actually do anything about it. So I show guys the fundamentals of how to move during sex and how not to move and positions and how to switch things up. So the body has the best foundation, if you like, to get the most out of sex. So relaxed, aware and moving. RAM, which sounds kind of empowering, doesn't it? So this explains why when I talk about overcoming premature ejaculation, I'm not making promises of ultimate control or the ejaculation on demand method, because as we've seen, the reality of how our bodies work is much more nuanced than this. And it takes a bit of patience and persistence. These are skills to learn and to be practiced. And we do a bit of work around visualization as well. Because a lot of guys, if they've struggled with premature ejaculation forever, they don't really have any experience of feeling calm and confident during sex. They don't really have a template to tap into. So we work on relaxation and visualization of just how they can be. So all of this, it's not just about sex or lasting longer, as great as that is. If we can get a bit of insight and a bit of mastery over dialing down anxiety, slowing down, being able to reflect and get into our bodies, the long-term benefits for our overall health and our well-being, they're immense. And who couldn't do with a bit less stress right now?